Hi Mom. Hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank all the viewers of the beer vlog intro. Currently the video has 60 views and that's 59 more than I ever thought I would get. So thank you very much. Mom, earlier this week you and I spoke about how old beer is. In turn, you've inspired what this week's beer vlog is going to be about. Beer and its origin. Beer occurs naturally. Through a process known as fermentation, sugars are converted into alcohol. The first beer may have been a mistake. When a large clay pot of grain was left out in the rain and it was saturated and the next day warmed by the sun and dried, the rain would have germinated the grain to produce enzymes and carbohydrates necessary for that seed to grow into a plant. The same process is necessary today to create malt, which is from what beer is created. This malted grain would have had water added to it to create a cereal like bread or a porridge or something to provide nutrient. In this mash, in this soup, wild yeasts would have started converting the sugars into alcohol. And through the process, by simply separating the liquid from the grain in that pot, the first beer would have been created. This is a natural occurrence. This could happen by mistake multiple times throughout history. So from that first beer, as people would consume the liquid, they would have discovered the warming attributes that alcohol and fermented sugars would have pleased the body and the senses and mind. And people from all over the village would have come together to create more of this liquid. They would not have called it beer yet. It was just a mistake. Naturally nutritional and safe to drink because the alcohol would kill off all bacteria that was detrimental. The alcohol created by the yeast would ensure the liquid's preservation, and the unfermentable sugars and nutrients left over would nourish the body and in turn create a source of food for the community. Creating beer required cooperation. Create pots, created the grain, and those that first made the mistake of beer would bring these people together so that they could create more. Also, the addition of herbs, a completely separate grower or farmer, would change the beer to something more pleasant or something more appealing and different. After a batch was created, there may have been a banquet, sharing of goods to go along with that batch of beer. Community was produced. A society was produced based off that beer that was created solely by mistake generations ago and passed down through offspring and passed in between communities and villages. Even today, a fresh batch of beer brings together people to taste it, to mill over it and decide what they like or don't like and how to change it further. Beer has stood the test of time. From as long ago as 39,000 BC, there has been discoveries of fermented grains into a drink. Progressing on and forth, the Vikings were known for their beers. Maybe drunken plans over mead and brewed grains would have inspired them to go across the seas and conquer lands and influence nations. Beer originally followed the resources needed to create it. So where there was wheat beer was created. Where there was barley beer was created. Where there was enormous amounts of honey, mead was created. All these different types of beers we know today were created solely off what was available to societies at the time. So it's not hard to imagine that in the past, societies would bring different types of beer to barter and trade with. So now today, beer has influenced me into these social experiences. So let's simplify and recap. Grain. Any kind of plant-producing grain. Just about any kind of plant-producing grain. That is saturated to trick it into think it's growing. Produces a maltable grain that produces the starches and the enzymes. When heat is added, those enzymes reduce the starches down to fermentable sugars. Wild yeast or chosen yeast will take that sugar and ferment it into alcohol. There are unfermentable sugars which transfer over into the beer as body or the flavors that you want to perceive. And the addition of spices, other unfermentable sugars, or most recently hop, will alter that beer, preserve the beer, change its taste, change its color, change its head, change its alcohol content. So beer has come a very long way, all the way up until present, where yours truly has fallen for it, and the people that are surrounded by it. My first beer could have occurred out of the recycling bin at my good friend Lauren Ham's when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I drank it. It was a skunk bush or some kind of terrible beer. It also could have come from my good friend Dan, who introduced me to Fat Tire a very long time ago when I first started drinking any kind of beer whatsoever. I won't say the age, but most likely it occurred when my Aunt Vicky told me to try Mac and Jack's Apricot Amber. After I tried them all and went through my various phases with IPAs and Reds and various addictions, I've come to know that personally I don't like a bitter beer. I don't like super hoppy beers. I prefer the well-crafted, well-rounded, all-encompassing styles of beer. I get cravings from now and then for something dark or for something really hoppy. So I guess I've evolved to understand the different styles and know just what I want at that point in time. And just what I want at this point in time is Bridgeport's Fresh Hop IPA. And to correct what I said earlier, it's not 39,000 BC, it's 3,900. Please leave any recommendations you have for future beer vlog. And if most of you haven't read, you missed the big Cocktoberfest. Yes, that was Dave of Slippery Pig playing the harmonica at the big Cocktoberfest. It was a great time. Thanks again, Dave. If you haven't tried it, try it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Miss you, Mom. Love you more. Wow, that's not what I say. I love you, Mom. Miss you lots. Nope. Miss you lots. Love you more. Miss you, Mom. Love you.
I think in the last one you said, love you lots, miss you more.
Yeah, it is. Mom, love you lots. Miss you more.